Hello and welcome. Today we are going to learn how to make this fun and cute little bumblebee. Buckle up, let's go. So things that we will need for our bumblebee, of course, is a pair of scissors, our stitch marker, a needle to sew in the final endings, our favorite hook, our number 5 hook, eyeballs, 2 of them. Obviously you can choose different sizes. I like these like medium size ones, and then their backs. We also obviously need yarn to make our bee. So if you are new, I personally don't like the really thick yarn, like the blanket yarn. I don't work well with it. So I like to use 2 worsted weight yarns, number 4. And then that makes it about to be like a 6, which is equivalent to our blanket yarn. You can obviously use the blanket yarn just using 1 strand, but I'm going to use 2 black strands of my number 4 yarn. And then because I can do 2 different colors, I like to make 2-toned color bees. So I have 2 different tones of yellow, again, both of which are number 4, and that makes it to be a number 6. So you can just use your number 6 blanket yarn of just 1 yellow strand, but it's really kind of nice to have a 2-toned bee friend. And then obviously our bees have white wings, so then I just have 1 strand of number 4 white yarn. I have yarn still from Joann's. Obviously a little sad about that being closed, so that's the yarn that I am using. You can use your favorite number 4 yarn or your number 6 blanket yarn. So to get started, we're going to start with our yellow yarn first. Again, if we're using 2 strands to equal our number 6 yarn, we just kind of have them together. And the pattern calls for our magic ring. Again, I will kind of move through this fast, but if you want to have a slow version tutorial of the magic ring, I will have that linked below. So again, I'm going to take my tail, my short tail, put it in between my pinky and my ring finger, wrap it around those 3 fingers, and then form a X in the back, and then having it so that... So again, I'm going to take my yarn and put it into my pinky and my ring finger in the middle of those 2, wrap it around the front, and then grab on to form an X in the back. And then I'm going to hold on to both strands with my pinky finger, take my hook with the hook side down, go underneath the first yarn, and then grab onto the second yarn, pull over, and turn my hook upwards so that I have a little crisscross here. And then I'm going to take my hook, grab onto the yarn that is closest to my hook. So if I'm up here, I'm going to grab on to cross over, turn my hook upside down to pull through, and there is my magic ring. Again, this tail here tightens, or I can pull against to make my magic ring a little bit bigger or smaller. So here we have our magic ring. So we have our magic ring. Again, to grab onto my yarn, I'm going to go underneath my pinky finger and then have the yarn go over my pointer finger. I'm going to grab onto my magic ring with my middle finger and then my thumb. So the pattern says to put 6 single crochets into my magic ring. I despise sewing in my ends at the end, so as much as I can try to crochet them in, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to put 6 single crochets into my magic ring and going around all 4 of these pieces of yarn. If you're using just 1 strand, again, you're going to use go over just those 2 strands. So I'm going to insert my hook into my magic ring, grab onto my yarn, pull through, pull up so that I have 2 loops on my hook, wrap around, and then pull through both loops. That's 1 single crochet, and we're going to do it 5 more times for 6. So I have 6 single crochets into my magic ring here. Again, if we needed to count, we would count our V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6. And if you do need a slower version of how to do single crochets or crochet in a round, I do have those videos linked below as well. So now my magic ring is fairly large, so I'm going to tighten it down by pulling this string here. And this will actually be tucked into our work as well, so we won't have to worry about it anymore. So we're gonna work on our second round. You can either put your marker in this stitch here, or I like to do it after I make my stitches because then it makes my stitches more uniform. So our next round says that we need to increase a round. If we remember what a single crochet increase is, that means it is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So I'm going to put my hook in the stitch here. So underneath the V's, putting my hook in there, grab onto my yarn and pulling through that entire V. So I have 2 loops on my hook, wrap around and pull through both loops. That's 1 single crochet, but I need to do 2 in the same stitch. So now I have it 2 in this same stitch. We want to put our stitch marker in so that we don't lose what round we are on. Very important that we either use a stitch marker or you can put a different colored yarn to mark where your round starts, because otherwise our project could become lopsided and then that would be a sad bee. So our project says for our bee to do a single crochet increase all the way around, making our stitch count now 12. So I'm just going to continue to do that. So again, that is 2 single crochets into the same stitch all of the way around. I should mention that if you wanted a smaller bee and you didn't want to have it to where you had to use 2 number 4 yarns and you only wanted to have 1 number 4 yarn, you could do that as well. Just make sure that you size down your hook. I would recommend using a 3.5 hook, so 3.5 millimeters. Don't ask me what letter hook that is because I don't go based off of letters, I go based off of numbers. And then you could have it be just a smaller bee in that sense. So we single crocheted increase all the way around for round 2. If your middle hole looks a little bit bigger here, we can always grab onto our string end and tighten it, and there the hole is now gone. So we reached our marker. I'm going to take my marker out, and my pattern says to single crochet and then single crochet increase. So I'm making another increased round. So in my first stitch, I am going to put a single crochet in, and I'm going to put my stitch marker in right away because it says single crochet, and then my next stitch it says to single crochet increase. So I'm going to put 2 stitches into this stitch. Now it is in brackets, so that means that we need to do this pattern over and over and over. It's a repeating pattern. So single crochet and then single crochet increase. If it's repeating, that means that I have to put a single crochet into my next stitch. And then into my next stitch, I'm going to single crochet increase. Again, it's a repeating pattern, so after that I'm going to single crochet and then single crochet increase. Going to do that all the way around until we get to our stitch marker. All right, so we have made it to 3 rounds. My next round says to just single crochet all the way around, so that's pretty easy. So we're going to take our stitch marker out and put a single crochet into our first stitch of round 4, and then put our stitch marker back. Then we are going to just single crochet all the way around for our bee. All right, we have made it through 4 rounds here. So if we do look at our project, because we no longer increased on the last round, we did just a straight single crochet all the way around, we should start to have like a little bit of a bend forming. This is going to be the face of our bee. Again, if we're looking closely at the right side of our work, you can see the V's of our stitches pretty clearly. If we look at the wrong side of our work, we have all of these little bumps here. That's how I determine if it's the wrong side or the right side. My V's are there, but they're much harder to see. Whereas this side of my work, you can see my V's and I don't have these bumps on the front side. Also, with working it around, we obviously have our tail end here that we can continue to pull on at any point in time. So that's also an indicator for being our back side. So we are going to change colors. So now we need to change our color into black. I have a very more detailed video of how to change the color. It's actually in regards to the bee here. But it's really great slowed down version that you can go and reference at your leisure to see how to do this in a much more slower version. So I like to make my stitches very nice and seamless when I change them. How I do that is I take my hook and I put it in the middle of my current working V and then into this next little stitch here. I'm going to take my black yarn and wrap it around my needle or my hook, excuse me, with the short end being to the right side of my hook. I'm going to hold on to both parts of the black so that it stays onto my hook, and I'm going to pull it all the way through both of those two little parts of that stitch. So I'm going to take my marker off. We don't really need it anymore at this point because we'll need it towards the end, I should say, but we're going to be changing from black to yellow pretty frequently. So we don't fully need it when we're changing colors because we'll be able to tell where the round ends based on the color change. So again, as we know, I don't like to sew my ends in at the end, so I'm going to lay my ends on the top of my current next working stitches so that I can crochet them in. So I'm going to single crochet around for this next round. So I am single crocheting around that black piece of yarn. Again, at this moment in time, the yellow yarn we don't really need to touch. We are going to do a fancy little trick here in just a minute. So I'm just going to make a couple more stitches of my black yarn. Again, I'm crocheting my ends in. Can pull on them a little bit too if you notice that they're a little bulgy, but you can't really see them in the front. So my yellow yarn, we don't want this loop here anymore, right? So it's going to be scary, but I promise you we're all going to be okay. We're going to pull onto the yarn that is connected to our ball here. So I'm just going to pull it through. And it is nice. We can tighten it up if we wanted to, but here is my one stitch from my last round, round 4, and this is round 5. So it's a nice seamless transition. Obviously, if we're working it around, this part will be on the bottom so that people won't be able to see that portion of it. But if we're working in a straight lined pattern, it looks really nice because then we can't really see this change here when we're moving from pattern to pattern. So I'm just going to continue to single crochet across in this round. Just make sure that you're trying not to pick up either one of these yellow strings. If it is bothersome, you can always cut off this portion of your project too, the one that's hooked up or part of the magic ring portion. If it doesn't bother you though, then you can just leave it and then it can be part of your stuffing. All right, we reached our next piece of the black yarn. So that means that round 5 is over. But our project says to insert our eyeballs before we get too much further. So again, because it's a bumblebee, I'm gonna have where my color change is going to be on the bottom side of my project. So if I'm looking at my bee, this is the bottom and this is going to be my top. So I'm going to insert my eyeballs now in round 2. And excuse me, they say that it should be 3 stitches apart. So I'm just going to put my first eyeball here. And then my second eyeball is going to be 1, 2, 3. Gonna put them over there. And you can look at it. If you don't like the look of it, you can always move your eyeball in. These are just recommendations. I don't really like the look of that one, so I'm gonna move him back and have him be just like this. So then we want to make sure that we secure our bumblebee's eyeballs. So grab the ends of our backings and pushing them in. And there we have our bumblebee's eyeballs, nice and secure. So we need to now change our yarn back to yellow. So when I'm changing my yarn colors, I like to have my color that I'm changing from to the right side of my project, just because then I can't get it as easily tangled. So again, I'm going to take my hook and put it in between my V and then into the other part of that stitch. I'm going to grab my yellow yarn. It's already right here, so I can just pick it right up, wrap it around my hook instead of just having it, you know, just like this, but I'm going to wrap it all the way around and basically do it as another stitch here and pull through both parts of that stitch. You can continue to use your stitch marker if you so wanted to, but again, I'm changing colors, so for me, I don't really need that at this point in time until I'm no longer changing colors. So I'm going to single crochet around with my yellow here. Again, once you get to a comfortable spot, you can pull onto your black strings and pull it through. We don't have any extra baby strings, so we're not having to work anything in through the round, which is really nice on this one. So we'll just continue to single crochet around. All right, we have single crocheted around a whole strip of yellow. So our next round, of course, it says to change it back to black. So I'm going to, you can move your balls if you so want to, but I'm going to move my yellow yarn over to the right side of my project, inserting my hook into that V and into the next stitch. After this project, you're going to be a master at changing your colors. Wrap around my black yarn, I'm just carrying it up and over, and then single crochet around again. We're making the stripes of our bumblebee here. After you get so many stitches and you feel comfortable and confident, you can again do some magic and pull that yellow yarn through. And we have reached the end of our next round there. So I'm just going to move my black yarn over to the right side of my project because I'm going to change it back to yellow. So again, I'm inserting into that stitch and into the next bottom portion of that stitch. If you wanted to, so you don't keep grabbing onto your yellow yarn, you can stuff that little guy in there because we're making our circle portion. We're going to change back to yellow. And for the next couple of rounds, we're going to work in yellow for the next 2 rounds. So I am going to put my stitch marker back into place. So I'm going to single crochet around for this portion of the project for this round. So I'm going to put my stitch marker back into place. And then I'm going to just make a couple more single crochets. All right, so our project now says to single crochet decrease. So we're making the butt portion of our bee. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker here and do a single crochet. Put my stitch marker back so that I don't lose where the next part of my round is. And then to decrease. Again, we're working in a round for a project where we don't want to see any gaps. So I'm going to do my decrease in the top loop of my V. So I'm going to put my hook through that one and then in through the next portion of that V. Grab my yarn, pull through both portions of those 2 single crochets, and then pull through both loops for a single crochet decrease. Again, I'm going to single crochet, go into the first loop and into the first loop of those 2 stitches, wrap around and pull through both loops for a decrease. And I'm going to do that all the way around because it's a repeating pattern again. So single crochet, decrease, all right, we are at the stitch marker here, so we are at the end of that round. We are going to change back to black and be done with yellow, meaning that I can cut off my yellow from my yarn balls or ball, and then I'm going to, after I change colors, crochet this string in. Okay, I'm going to take my stitch marker out, going to change to my black yarn, going to grab onto that and pull it up and through. And my pattern says that I am going to decrease all around. So I need to look for where my next stitch is. This stitch here is part of that decrease, so my next stitch are these 2 stitches here. So I'm going to decrease. And I want to make sure that my yellow yarn that has a tail is over the top of those stitches so that when I pull up, the strand is in the middle of my yarn that's attached to my yarn balls and then my 2 loops on my hook so that I can tightly secure it there. Then again, I'm going to decrease. And again, I'm going to decrease. And before we get too far into this project, I'm going to pull onto my yellow yarn to tighten up this guy here. Obviously, this is super long, so we are going to get rid of some of it too. Again, I'm going to continue just to decrease all of the way around. If you notice, I didn't put my stitch marker back into place because we are almost done with making the body portion of our Bumblebee. Into these last 2 stitches here. Perfect. Don't want to lose this portion, but trying to make it so that I have a hole big enough where I can put stuffing in. Now, if you know, I like to reduce, reuse, recycle. I have a lot of projects that I do with fabrics, with yarn, so I like to use my scraps to stuff my projects. You can use the polyfill stuffing, there is nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to stuff my Bumblebee with some of my old scraps, and I'm going to cut this portion off as well as my tail yarn and to pull this through. So let's just do that really quick here. So cut off that portion, and then I'm going to leave a long enough tail where I can sew my project in together. Ooh, there we go. And I'm just going to pull this loop through. Okay. I'm going to stuff my little friend here and we will meet back shortly. All right, here is our Bumblebee all nice and stuffed. Again, you can kind of shape it however you so want. You can put more stuffing in, you can put less stuffing in, but now we need to take care of this end. So this is where the dreaded sewing portion comes into play. So we take our darning needle and have to thread that needle. And then I do like to just kind of crisscross all the way around my body going into the top loops just to close off this hole and to try to make it a little bit more uniform. Do it a couple of different times. And then all you have to do to secure your yarn one last time is I put it in and then I just try to work it so that it comes out of the end of part of my project here. And then just to secure it one more time, I'm just going to kind of work it along the side of my project again and pull it through. I want to make sure though that my black is going somewhere along where my other black portions are. I'm just going to cut this weird little friend off, as well as this friend. So here we have a wingless bumblebee. We need to make wings though. So that's where the white yarn comes into play. When we make the wings, we want to make sure that we are putting it kind of in the middle of our eyeballs in this yellow row here. So I like this stitch right here because it's about in the middle of my eyeballs. So again, if I'm following the middle here, I'm going to do this friend here. You can pick wherever you want your wings to go, but this is where I'm going to go. And if you saw, I just went underneath the middle portion of this stitch here just so I didn't lose that friend. Okay, then I am going to leave a longer tail over here and lay my yarn over the top. Again, I have the short end of the tail to the right side of my hook, and I'm going to pull this white yarn through. Going to make sure I'm not working on the short side of my white yarn, and I'm going to kind of do like a slip knot but chain, and then I'm going to chain. So I am going to go ahead and chain 6 additional from this friend here. So I'm going to make them a little bit looser chains as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to single crochet into this chain here. I'm going to skip this first chain. So I'm going to insert my hook into that chain and single crochet. And then I'm going to half double crochet. So wrap yarn around my hook, insert into this chain, pull up a loop, pull through all 3 loops. And then I'm going to half double crochet again into the next stitch. And then I'm going to double crochet into this next stitch. So I still wrap around my yarn, insert my hook, wrap around, and then I'm only going to pull through 2 loops and then pull through 2 loops again. And then in this last stitch, I'm going to half double crochet for my wing. So again, I single crocheted, 2 half double crochets, 1 double crochet, 1 half double crochet. So single crochet, half double, double, half double. And then I'm going to single crochet into this stitch here. Actually, I'm going to slip stitch, excuse me, into this stitch. So I'm not going to wrap around to pull up, to pull through. I'm just going to take this loop and pull through. So this wing is a part of this side here. So now I'm going to chain 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, I'm skipping this first chain and I'm going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook, half double, wrap around my yarn, insert my hook, wrap around, pull through all 3. That's 1 half double. And then I'm going to do a second half double. Then I'm going to double crochet. So instead of pulling through all 2, I'm going to pull through 2, pull through 2, and then half double to finish off into this last chain stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch one more time into that stitch just to secure those wings into place. The last thing that I'm going to do is just do a little chain here because then that secures that slip stitch. Cut off my working yarn, pull through. So that part is nice and tight. I just don't want these wings to fall off, and because I worked these 2 strands of yarns right next to each other, I'm just going to do a quick little knot. And then use my handy dandy needle. First, I'm going to make these 2 strands the same length because that's way easier. So then you're going to insert and just pull it through one portion of your project. You have it knotted, so you don't need to work it through multiple times if you don't want to. Cut off the tail end. And then just squish it to hide that white piece that'll fall into that part of your bumblebee. And you move your wings about. You can kind of shape them however so you choose. And here we have made ourselves a fun little bumblebee. I hope you had fun. Please share your photos of your bumblebee friends. You can also, if you wanted to, stitch on a mouth too for fun. Make it more personal. You can do different colors as well. But like I said, I like to do the 2-tone bumblebee because it gives it a little bit more character. I hope you had fun and enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video.